It is a fast-moving week for the Boston Red Sox, and it seems for all of Major League Baseball, down to 4 regular season games. It is episode 4 of the week of Red Sox Now, presented by FanArch. I'm Mike Antonellis. We're getting a lot of people who are hopping in for the first time. I love it. We are close to 1,900 subscribers. I wanted that magic number 3,000 on the last day of the Red Sox season. That'd be a huge climb. If we get to 2, fantastic. It's been this is my first year doing this. Somebody people have asked what the schedule will be like in the off season, but I haven't done it in the off season yet. We started this in spring training, and we're over 140 episodes. So thank you so much. You'll see the comments every day. That's me, Mike Antonellis, replying. Mike Antonellis Media. Subscribe to that YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel. It helps. We've talked about Dr. Algorithm or Mr. and Mrs. Algorithm. They are huge in all of this. So if you could like, we do, as you see on the sidebar, those are the topics. We go off topic, we go off the rails. Yeah, that's part of this. It's fun to, I have a set agenda, but I thoughts and your comments, and we have fun. This has been a fun project to work on. I enjoy this community that we've built, and I've gotten to know a lot of you every day, and it's pretty cool to respond to you. So that's me. If you see the FanArch logo commenting, that's our team as well. I am everywhere on social media. On X, I posted something this morning. I usually like to do something in the morning. A lot of you are sending me stuff during games, which I love. At Radio Mike there. TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat. I have Discord as well. I'd love to start that. I think that'd be a great off-season thing to get into. If we could do, right? Are you? It depends what age. Are some of you good with Discord? Would you like that? Discord's cool because we can chat all day in it. Hanging with Mike. If you want to find that on Discord, I have a Red Sox channel. I have a Woo Sox channel broadcasting NBA, NFL, fantasy football, which I love. I'm a big DraftKings daily fantasy into that. A lot of options now, right? You got to have all the options. All right, so let's get right to it. Here's one thing that I'm really proud of the Red Sox. They finished over 500 for the season on the road. They clinched that last night. Toronto did not. Toronto's now a wild card because they don't have the head-to-head with the Yankees. I tweeted this morning, and a lot of you have said this. If Netflix had picked this year, but here is my theme, because I'm a big movie guy, and a lot of you know that I've done background acting, so I know what kind of ways that they find something and they run with it. If you've watched the Charlie Sheen documentary, this would be similar. Sheen had this crazy plane ride, and they kind of used that. And I tweeted, if Netflix picked this year, they would have used that plane ride to tell the story of the final stretch, right? I mean, can't you picture this in your head? Because this is too Hollywood movie-ish, isn't it? You had that scary plane ride, and then they start using it, but then the symbolism of the American League down the stretch being rocky, with what has happened to the Tigers and the Astros. I mean, the Tigers have been a disaster. Obsessed with trade deadlines. Cleveland sold. Cleveland lost their closer to gambling. They DFA'd Carlos Santana. They traded Shane Bieber. They traded Paul Sewald to the Tigers. The Tigers made a ton of moves. It's baseball's not about that. I hope a lot of you have learned this year how unpredictable things can be and how a lot of things don't matter because it's such a difficult game. and you have to have certain positions at a high level. But this road to the finish is definitely like a rocky plane ride. And Netflix, you know that they are sitting there going, oh my God. Right? I mean, with the Bregman injury, with the Devers trade, they would have had access to all of that. I mean, it's pretty crazy. I don't know if teams can afford to do this, but man, the Red Sox probably should have cameras on them every year. But this, if this was filmed this year, we'd be chomping. Not that we weren't last year, because there were some cool things, of course, with Joe Castiglione retiring. But, I mean, the Devers thing. I mean, they would have. I think they would have. I don't know if they had cameras on the plane. I don't know. I don't know how that would have all worked. If they would have been able. They would have had some obviously coverage on that. All right, going into this road trip, this was another example. A bad homestand at 2-4. We needed to see how these guys responded. And I'm telling you, it says a lot about their character, their leader, their leaders. Alex Cora, all of the leaders, Bregman, Story. But it shows how things don't carry over. And I've tried to pin that into your heads. Now, we lost to Oakland. Okay. Houston can't beat them either. Cincinnati can't beat Pittsburgh. It doesn't carry over. A lot of you think it doesn't. Players don't wake up the next day freaking out about that. You can't. I've learned as a broadcaster, being with the team every day, you get emotionally invested, but you have to just, the next game, you're on to the next game. And this was a test. I think it was the final test. How resilient could they be? Well, like I said at the beginning, using the Al Davis, just win, baby. And I think I had a sidebar for it. Something to the effect of, who cares what the other teams do? And it hasn't mattered. Now, you could disagree with me and go, well, no, it absolutely has. Sure. Yeah, I mean, Houston losing 5 in a row and Detroit losing 8 certainly has helped you. But if you're 1-4 on this trip, 3 less wins, 3 more losses, you're tied with Houston, which means you'd be ahead of them right now. Toronto would have the division, and you'd be 1 game behind Detroit going into today, which you didn't have the head-to-head. So 3-2. What were the Red Sox say? At 83 wins going into this? 3-2, you'd have 86. You'd have a 1-game lead over Detroit with 4 to go without having the head-to-head. The fact that you've gone 4-1 and had a winning home road trip, and certainly, no doubt, with what Detroit and Houston has done, has helped immensely, because you only have a Houston loss today before you even take the field to clinch a playoff spot. But it's all predicated on you winning 4 or 5. That's all that I care about. And things have completely flipped over now, where Toronto does not have the head-to-head against the Yankees. The Red Sox would go right back there Tuesday in 5 days. But this whole stretch, this down the stretch, has been absolutely nuts. And the guy that you invested a lot in looked absolutely flawless last night. Dave and Lou were talking about how there's just this sense of like, it doesn't even look like Crochet is working hard at times. And a lot of you said to me that, you thought he looked worn out or he wasn't, good down the stretch. And what I've tried to tell a lot of you is I would agree with Giolito, yes, evidence of that with velocity down. You do realize that Crochet is 4-0 this month. and has not lost since August 11th. And has had one loss since May 21st. So I think it is at times with these guys, it's like you're picking a little thing like, yeah, that person has a flawless face, but there's a little mole right here. It's like I get he's given up some home runs. Yeah, he's given up 8, but at the end of the day, I don't care. Because there's a trust level with him. What was your trust level last night? For me, it hasn't changed. Still throwing 99. All of those the metrics in terms of velocity, pitches land, the stuff. When you watch him, he looks just as dominant as he has all year. And he had games early on where he gave up runs and he had a lot of walks in April. He had 16 walks. Most walks he's had all year. He's had 14 since his starts on July 6th. And that to me is your Cy Young Award winner. And to me, it's not close. With all due respect to Skubal, 18-5, the strikeouts, that's my winner. And you needed, that was a big win, obviously a big win. But the fact that you've gone 4-1, you have a chance to go 5-1 with a win today. And you clinched a winning road record. Yankees, Cleveland, Boston, and Detroit are the only teams in the American League over 500 on the road. National League, it's Philly, Milwaukee, not the Dodgers, the Cubs, and that is it. You have 7 teams in Major League Baseball who will finish over 500 on the road, and you were one of them. So, I mean, that's impressive because, that's a whole league, and again, it's a schedule for me, you're playing everybody. But what I loved was you scored right away. You had 12 hits. You struck out under 10 times. That's been a magic number for the club. That's been something that Alex Cora has stressed. Put the ball in play a lot in that first inning. Story, Yoshida, Gonzalez. I mean, Romy Gonzalez, unbelievable year. 53 RBIs. You've absolutely needed him. And who knows? The game is bonkers because he's playing more because of the Meyer injury. And now, I don't want to do this, but I have to. Next year, does he stay as that utility guy, or does he earn a chance to play every day? When you watch him now, that play he made at second base last night, that diving play up the middle, I don't think Meyer makes that. I don't think a lot of guys make that. How do you turn to him next year and say, you're not worthy of playing every day? I don't know. They're going to have a lot of tough decisions, and they have built so much extra players in depth with injuries, and guys have stepped up that they're going to have a lot of good problems to have. But, what a year. Rafaela had 2 more hits. Good to see him coming around. Narvaez had that big home run in the 8th inning that sealed it. And how about the way the game ended? We wanted this guy back. Abreu throws out Alejandro Kirk on, it's not a base hit. It's just a long 9-3 out. It's a ground ball to right field. That's the one time announcers are wrong on a call. I would have said line drive, base hit to right. Abreu up with it, throws to first. Oh, he's out. Something like that. How crazy was that? Yoshida has stepped up. And a lot of you know my feelings. And I wasn't being a contrarian, but I mean, it was the cancel culture with players this year has been ridiculous. Everyone is. A lot of you, if you've picked one guy, and it's like I saw the same tweets, almost written the same way by everybody. I had some fool tell me the other day, going on and on about Garcia to me in a DM, and I said, "Well, you do know he's hurt. The guy hasn't played in 5 games, so." But just the things he was saying about Yoshida and trying to make a case with Garcia, and it's like, well, it doesn't correlate. Well, what is a AAA player correlate right now to what you're trying to do? You want another guy in the lineup with less strike, swing and miss. That's what Yoshida has. But here was it wasn't not a contrarian thing. My point with Yoshida was this. I looked at the situation was he missed the end of last year, missed the first part of this year. No spring training. The Red Sox rushed his rehab because they needed him back. What did you think he was going to do? Like, what were you right? Did you guys really in gals think he was just going to come right back without playing and just do what? Go back to hitting 290? That's not normal for any big league player. Trevor Story had a tough road back, even with spring training, because he had not played. It took him 2 months. And now you can see Yoshida is kind of had his spring training, and he is 13 for his last 32. He doesn't strike out either. That to me, less of that is good. He has fanned 4 times this month, 4 times since, in his last 70 at-bats. But you need a guy in the lineup like this. Makes contact, moves runners over, and now you're seeing Lou talked about this. He started. You could tell he had a plan. He wants more launch angle. It takes a while, guys. It does, right? Because you can look at it. He started hitting right when he got to the 103 at bat mark, because his last, just about his, over wasn't great for a bit. It wasn't. Now I agree with a lot of you. It didn't look great at the beginning. But my expectations were, well, the guy hasn't played. And I personally did not agree with 12 at-bats on a rehab. But that's not my decision. So I didn't agree because I knew it was going to look ugly. Look at how Devers looked in spring training. Do we remember that? When he hadn't played and then he went in there, not spring training. At the beginning of the season, he missed a lot of spring training. How did he look at the beginning of the year? Horrible. For how long? For a while. These guys are just different, Major league guys need a lot of reps. It would happen to all of them. But good story. Really good story. The fact that you got him in that spot. And you've been able to build momentum with guys that you've asked due to other circumstances. Yoshida, Gonzalez, you picked up Lowell, and now you got Abreu back, and Narvaez, I think, has been terrific. This is, when you look at what you want to do to be better. The Red Sox made changes to high-end positions. Carlos Narvaez, I don't care that his batting average is 240. He's a rookie. He's handling catching duties, which are extremely taxing. He's a first-year player, also in a different organization. He had to learn all of the pitchers. There was going to be a natural decline because he's not a 300 hitter. But I look at his season. We didn't even think he was going to be the guy. And you traded for a catcher with the Yankees who has provided solid defense. Does he need work at it? Of course. But he's a first-year player who has been clutch, who is good with his pitching staff, who gives you 15 homers and 50 RBIs. Would any of you taken that? I think you would have. Was that a huge upgrade? Yes. Middle infield. You needed Story. He's come through. Might be your, offensive MVP. Bregman, for tons of reasons. Defense alone. Has that been a major upgrade over Devers? Yes. Leadership, things he brings to the table, absolutely. Rafaela in center, you committed to that because it's a high-end position. Put Duran in left, that's, a better position for him. You stuck with Abreu and right. That's someone that Heim traded for. That's a valuable position at Fenway. But then the guy on the mound last night, because you cannot get to the table in the conversation of being a good team without what you had last night. As bad as the Tigers are right now, they have been better than a lot of teams the last 2 years because of one guy. And as you've seen, if you did not have this guy this year, you wouldn't be where you're at. And they addressed that immediately. I would rather, like I said yesterday, I want my GMs addressing things before the season. Scrambling at the deadline. We don't have all these positions. That's not how you should run an organization. You should add to enhance, not to fill needs. If you're filling needs at the deadline, you're not a good organization. Now, things happen with injuries. I get all that. But say you didn't have Crochet and you're trying to get Joe Ryan at the deadline to get an ace. That's not how you should be doing things. But you added that, and you added a closer. They recognize those things right away. Where, as much as I love Theo Epstein, in 2003, at the beginning of his tenure as a GM, he said that closers don't matter. And he was wrong on that. And he has admitted that. But you look at the filling in the blanks for Breslow in his second year. Defense, pitching, and they wanted to upgrade that catching position. Wong had a good offensive year. They didn't care about that. They wanted better defense. So they did a good job at filling in the high-end positions. They got Giolito last year, who's part, and they've drafted high-end positions. More. Pitching, obviously. It's exciting. What I love is that today Houston plays and they lost again. If they lose, the game is irrelevant tonight. Now, a lot of you are going to say, well, should you play out to get a certain spot? Well, this is interesting because if you win tonight, say the Yankees lose, you're 2 games behind Toronto. Now, what is the right? Then you'd be 2 games because no, you'd be you'd be 2 games behind both, and you don't have the head-to-head with Toronto. You have it with the Yankees. That's interesting. So then would you play full force over the weekend? I don't know. I don't think Alex Cora will do that. Now remember, this isn't the 40-man roster days, so you can only rest so many guys. But they did set it up nicely where you have Bayo today, and then tomorrow I think it's going to be Connolly early, right? It's still TBD. But honestly, none of it matters to me. You win today or Houston loses, you have clinched a playoff spot. And in 1 year, you became a much better team, and you went through a ton. That's why I have been more optimistic than many about this Red Sox team this year, because I don't think in any other year, with all of these things that happened to them, they would have got through this. And they have good leaders. You know, I think there were a lot of times we thought, oh, okay, this is over. And they have found a way, and they are a loss. I think it'd be cool, though. Wouldn't it be cool if Houston loses? Now, would they scratch Bayo? I don't think so, because you'd still want him to throw. But he could throw less. All right, let's get to your comments from Wednesday. I talked about this yesterday. At DBD Max said extension into virus is a great idea. What an impressive season he had. Yeah, that could be something they do, right? You want to keep that guy. Need some coffee for your comments. At Talbot Bid 011, no Greg Weissert. Helped us keep that 4-1 lead, talking about the other night. His season has been good, but his past few appearances, not so much. Yeah, definitely tired, and I think they're resting him here. But I don't think he'll be, I think when you go backwards, it's Chapman, Whitlock, Slayton, Wilson, Matz, and we'll see who else. At no name -N1DY, when you talked about the importance of Giolito going 4 innings, I was reminded of Game 4 of the 13 World Series. Buchholz gave the Sox 4 with his velocity in the low 80s. Yeah, he gave the bullpen a chance to win that game. That seemed very doubtful with the stuff he had. I feel like the game was turning point of the series. Yeah, no, you're right. Because that first few innings of Game 1 against Toronto, but going back to the World Series, you're right, but it didn't look good. And I like the wins when they didn't look good. I like the show, too. We got one more to go. Now, if Houston wins and the Red Sox win tonight, they have clinched. So hopefully on Friday, we are talking about a magic number of 0. Leave your comments. Subscribe on the way out to Red Sox Now, all presented by Fan Arch. We got one more show. Bayo on the bump, 7:07 tonight in Toronto. Magic number down to 1. Red Sox are close to clinching. Thank you for watching our episode today. And as always, go Sox.